Final hour for the week. Overdrive continues, powered by FanDuel, bringing you everything from the opening line to the final score. Bryan Hayes, Jonas Siegel of The Athletic, and Jason Strudwick with us. Best bets later this hour. Dear Hazy B coming up in about a half an hour. A couple of submissions. And I got a couple of things on my mind, too, that I want to cycle through, both Jonas and you, Struddy. So I think you guys have a pretty good read on the way society is supposed to be working here.
On life.
Yeah, in life. I consider you a philosopher, Jonas. I think you're a philosopher guy, right? You're big on different philosophies. You should write a book someday just on your whole viewpoint of the world. I'd read that.
Yeah. I don't think that would sell very well.
You don't think there'd be a big audience for that?
No.
That's unfortunate. So, yeah, we'll get to Dear Hazy V in about a half an hour. But day 2 of the Open Championship, and you look at the leaderboard, there's Scotty Scheffler. A very familiar name sitting at the top. Scotty Scheffler. Let's bring in our TSN golf reporter. Here's Bob Weeks. Bob, I'm sure you're not surprised that Scotty's sitting there with a one-shot lead after 36 holes.
You know, I got to tell you, I didn't pick him at the start of the week only because his putting record is horrendous at this tournament. He's finished 72nd and 48th the last couple of years in putting on the greens, and these are very different greens, obviously, but all those doubts were erased today. I mean, he played exceptionally well, and I was telling someone today in the newsroom, if you didn't have a scorecard in front of you, or if they weren't keeping score on TV and you looked and watched him play, I don't know what you would have thought he shot, but I don't know if it would have been 64. It just seemed like he was escaping from, anytime he hit a bad shot, he never compounded it. He'd get a good shot. He drained some long putts. He drained some short putts. But it was sort of one of those methodical rounds that Scotty Scheffler has become known for. And I mean, now he's not only got a one-shot lead, but he's got everybody behind him looking and saying, how are we going to catch this guy?
Yeah, it's pretty incredible. The way he came home, too, it looks so consistent, so under control. And you mentioned, the putting over there in particular, and the elements are unpredictable. Who knows what it's going to look like. Maybe the guys that go out in the morning tomorrow get pristine weather and Scotty gets hit with crazy weather. But if I were to offer you up Scheffler versus the field with 36 holes to go, who would you take?
I'd take Scheffler. I mean, don't forget he played through 4 holes of the hardest rain we've seen so far in the 2 days.
Yep.
And he didn't seem to flinch. And I really don't know if you're again. I kind of look back at the guys behind. There's some good talent there. Matt Fitzpatrick's won a major. Brian Harmon has won a major. Tyrrell Hatton, Robert McIntyre. These guys aren't kind of raw rookies that are chasing him. And Rory's not too far back. But I just don't see them playing with any kind of consistency like Scotty has played with. And as you said, it's kind of sort of methodical. It's kind of, he just doesn't make 2 mistakes. If he makes one, he corrects it, and he doesn't make one very often. So it's enticing to watch, but it must be frustrating if you're another golfer to see him do it week after week.
Yeah, it's pretty incredible. Watching the coverage today, I want to say he was hitting into 15. And, he hit the front of the green and it kind of spun off into the front. It was not a horrible shot. Obviously, it was a bit of a miss, but not a horrible shot. And he was in the fescue. It was a difficult kind of position for him to control the ball. And I think it was Brad Faxon and Hicks and the whole crew was like, oh, that's a huge mistake. And I'm like, that's a Scheffler huge mistake. The rest of the field would have been okay with that shot. But we've become so accustomed to this guy never missing anything. And sure enough, he went up, chipped it to 2 feet, tapped in for par, and moved on with his day. But that's kind of even how, the broadcasters are reacting to him, Bob, that the rest of the field would be okay with his miss, and because it's him, it almost seems extreme.
It's amazing. I mean, we talked on Thursday about the fact that he only hit three fairways, but when he missed the rough, he either just missed. He wasn't anything too terrible, first cut or something like that, or he got these great lies. He rarely ever had to kind of hack one out. He did one today, but on 17 again today, he drove it really far right. He was well off course, but somehow he doesn't. He only had about 100 yards, but still he hits it into 14 feet and drains it for birdie. And I'm thinking if it's most other people there, they get over there, they're just sort of lobbing it up to the center of the green somewhere and hoping they've got 30 feet or something. But he's so consistent and he's so laid back. And but if he wins the Claret Jug, according to him, he'll have 2 or 3 minutes to celebrate, and then he'll focus on the FedEx Cup playoffs or something. I'm not sure what. That's the kind of laid back attitude that this guy has, and it's just so impressive. It's really perhaps one of the most impressive things I've seen, since Tiger's days when he was sort of dominating, and now I think he's kind of intimidating the rest of the field, to be honest.
Well, Bob, what did you make of his comments earlier in the week just on winning? Were you surprised?
Not really. I've had some good conversations with Scotty over the years, and I think I've seen him, and not only him, but a lot of other golfers, they kind of evolve. They evolve over time. They come up from college and all they want to do is play golf, and then they get married and they say, "Oh, I've got someone else in my life," and then they have kids, and they realize, I think, during those transitions in their life that there is a lot more to golf, and golf is a little different than, say, Super Bowl or Stanley Cup. Like the Florida Panthers celebrated for 2 weeks after the Stanley Cup. But after the Masters, Rory's got a tournament starting Monday, so it's a little bit different. Not saying that it's anything unusual. I just think there's more people like Scotty out there in the sports world than let on, and he said that there's been lots of people come up and say, lots of golfers come and say, I agree with you 100%. Mac Hughes was very vocal about that too. You can't let golf eat up your entire life. It's just not good. Now, maybe some guys celebrate for 10 minutes and he only celebrates for 2 or whatever, he's saying. But I really wasn't surprised, because that's kind of the guy Scotty is. He's got a young child at home. He's a man of faith. He's a very religious person, and he's got a lot of things that go on outside and after he steps off the golf course that I think seem to him to be either just as important or more important.
With Bob Weeks, 2 days into the Open Championship, Scotty Scheffler alone in the lead at 10 under. If we fast forward to Sunday night and he ends up closing this, he will be 3/4 through the career slam. He picked up a PGA earlier this year. He's won 2 Masters. This will be an Open. That'll leave the U.S. Open that he'd be chasing, which happens to be the worst major he plays in every year. Effectively, he's never really been in the hunt at any point. But if he closes this loop, he ends up winning the Open. Do you think it would be a lock at that point? At some point, the career slam's going to happen for Scheffler?
It would sure seem like it the way he plays right now. And, his record in this tournament, I know he's got a couple of top 10s, but they've kind of been backdoor top 10s in the 4 times he's played this one. So he didn't really have a great record here either. He's finished. I'm trying to think what year it was, maybe 21 or 22. I think he was tied for second at the U.S. Open. A bit of a backdoor again, but he's played well in all the majors. That's the thing about him. He plays well in every tournament. He's got a game that really, really kind of flows across different styles of golf, different setups. The U.S. Open is long, rough.